Folks, people are outraged at the $80 Mario Kart World price tag. Did Nintendo justify that price tag in the Direct this week? We talk about it today. Folks, welcome to the Mario Matter episode 136. I am your host, Nintendo YouTuber EmSwizzle. It's a good day to be alive, folks, and you're probably wondering what is on today's program. Let's dive into it. First things first, me and our guests go over Nintendo news from the past 7 days. We have some Switch 2 pre-order updates, and honestly, that's about it. After that, we dive into recapping the Mario Kart World Nintendo Direct. We saw some things that we wanted to see, and some things that we didn't want to see, and some things we're missing overall. But is that game worth $80? We talk about that, and then after that, me and our guests answer your questions in the Q&A segment, the question block segment. And our guest today, folks, is Nate from the Nintendo Prime YouTube channel with over 145,000 subscribers. Nate keeps you in the loop with all Nintendo news. He does not miss a beat. We talked to him today. Let's go ahead and let's get right to the podcast and not waste your time.
Welcome to the Mario Matter, the #1 Nintendo podcast.
Hello, folks. I am EmSwizzle from the future, coming on here to start the podcast because the first topic that me and Nate talked about in this show was speculating on when the Switch 2 might be up for pre-order in the USA. 1 day later after our conversation, Nintendo confirmed it. So, April 24th, in the US, you can pre-order the Switch 2. The price stays the same at $450. Mario Kart World is still $80, and Donkey Kong Bonanza is still $70. However, to combat the quote-unquote evolving market conditions, tariffs and all that, Nintendo is upping the prices of pretty much every single Nintendo Switch 2 accessory, and I have the updated prices for you right here, straight from Nintendo. So, once again, Mario Kart and Switch 2 and Donkey Kong, all the same prices. However, the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller is going to be $85. That is a increase in price. The Joy-Con 2, a brand new pair of them, just a new set of Joy-Cons, $95. That's absurd, okay? The charging grip for the Joy-Con 2, so you put the Joy-Cons on this grip and then you can charge them on the grip. That's going to be $40, insane. The Joy-Con 2 straps, if you need more straps for your Joy-Cons, $14. If you want the Joy-Con 2 wheels for Mario Kart, $25. The Nintendo Switch 2 camera is $55, so that is $5 more. The Nintendo Switch 2 dock set, if you need a brand new dock, $120 for a dock, a USB-C cable, and an HDMI cable. Crazy. The Nintendo Switch 2 carrying case and screen protector official bundle is $40. Not terrible. Nintendo Switch 2 all-in-one carrying case, where it can hold the dock, the cables, the Switch, $85. If you need a brand new Nintendo Switch 2 USB-C charger, $35 for just a glorified charger that has good power. And then if you want the Samsung micro SD express card that is made for the Switch 2, 256 gigabytes, $60. Guys, it's hopeless. It's hopeless here. Let's go ahead with all that news out there. Now you're informed. Let's get to the topics that me and Nate actually talk about, which is how many Switch 2s might be available at launch. And then after that, we dive into Mario Kart, of course. Let's go ahead. Let's get to it. The other bit of pre-order news that we can talk about here, which is all we really have for Nintendo news. I will ask you if there's news that I'm forgetting after this. But for right now, most GameStops around the world are expecting less than 100 Nintendo Switch 2 units at launch. Now, my reaction to this was, that's it? But I will share this little personal tidbit here, Nate. At my GameStop, when the Switch 1 was coming out, I think there were a lot of questions about whether or not Switch would be a success or a fail. And so my local GameStop only had 4 Nintendo Switches. So when I see this, I mean, I imagine that same GameStop, it's closed now, but it would have more than 4. less than 100. I mean, I think that's still kind of low. Do you think?
Well, so I don't know how many midnight launches and like you've done for all the systems over the years, because I've been doing this since like the 90s.
Sure.
Well, I guess really early 2000s when I had my own money. And what's interesting is I've never seen 100 available to pre-order at a GameStop ever for any system. Like it's never happened.
Yep.
So like in the US alone, because the actual news, I think it came from Nintendo Deal. You said roughly 100 on average. Some will have less, some will have a little more. It's not going to depend on cities and all that. But let's say like, okay, it's 100 per store on average. Well, there's 2,350 GameStops in the US. That's 235,000 units just for in-person pre-order. That's not counting the fact they're taking online. So that means they might have 500,000 units just GameStop for launch. To keep in mind, the all-time record for opening month opening month sales, like the whole month, not just the day, is 4.18 million, and that was the PlayStation 5. And so to think like on day one retailer has 500,000, then you consider what Nintendo's selling on their website, then you consider there's Target, Walmart, Best Buy, they all have like 500,000. You might already match that on the very first day.
Yep.
And that's just in the and by the way, we're just talking about the US. That number for PlayStation was worldwide. So it actually is quite a lot. Like it seems low because we all want one, but in reality, that's actually very unusual. They don't usually you top out about 50 for like a really high demand. And I know we don't know with PlayStation because obviously they didn't do any in-person stuff. But I remember like the PlayStation 4, it was right around about 25 to 50 that I was seeing at different GameStops taking for pre-orders. So it's actually quite a lot. It's just nothing's ever going to seem like enough because we can't pre-order it anyway. Once it's available to pre-order, what if it's really easy to pre-order? Then clearly it was enough, you know?
Yep. You have all the facts, all the PlayStation stuff. I didn't know all this. The only thing that I think about is so I've not been to many midnight launches like how you were saying. I've only been to one, and that is the Zelda Tears of the Kingdom GameStop midnight launch.
That was a fun one.
The problem I see here is at my GameStop, which was one of like the bigger ones, I didn't count everybody, but I think there was about 80 people there at midnight. I just worry because this will be a lot bigger than Tears of the Kingdom.
You would hope.
You'd hope that there's a lot more than 80, but I don't know if that's very realistic.
Yeah, the game midnight launches have always seemingly had more than the console. Well, that's because the console's always limited to how many units they actually get.
Yep.
Like I remember just like you, like with Switch, it was literally like 5 units they had.
Yep.
And I'm like, damn. We waited, me and my best friend Eric, we waited overnight just to get an in-person pre-order. We were like second in line, and they had to come on and be like, yeah, we only have 5 guys. So the rest of you guys could just leave.
Yep. That's sad, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a little bit better with the Xbox Series X when that launched. I think they had like 20 when I went to that one. But no, it's interesting because, I've been to several midnight launches at GameStop, and all the really big ones, there's always like a ton of people. And it's like, man, this isn't quite the way it is at console launch. It's really weird. Why can't we have this for a console launch? Well, this would actually sound like it kind of is going to be like that for a console launch. It just feels like, and this is what I tell everyone. I know not everyone likes GameStop or wants to pre-order at GameStop or anything. Midnight launch experiences for consoles are like, it's like a party.
Crazy, I'm sure.
Everyone is so hyped. Like even when it's just 5 people. Well, those 5 people brought friends, and then but this is going to be like massive. Like 100, you're going to see like a Tears of the Kingdom level thing, except now it's about a system. Yeah, everyone will be talking about Mario Kart, but they're all going to be talking about Donkey Kong. People will be imagining what the next 3D Zelda is going to be like. It's like a huge. It's so fun. So I was actually disappointed to find out that the only GameStop that's anywhere technically near me is not doing one because they're in a mall. And the mall said, we're not going to provide security. You can't do it. And I'm like, well, that sucks. Yep. So I have to drive like an hour away or 2 hours away if I want to do a GameStop one. But thankfully, this is a big deal. Best Buy never does midnight launches.
Yeah, never.
Now they're doing it for this. Yep. They're anticipating enough people pre-ordering to do it. So, and that's all. And theirs is weird because you can't go in person to do it. You got to go online for in-store pickup.
Oh, I didn't know that. Shoot.
Yeah, it's all online for in-store pickup. Keep this in mind at checkout, guys. If you're trying to go at Best Buy, you might have a better chance of actually getting it if you do an in-store pickup than just ordering it to your house, because they'll have allocated per store. So
that makes sense. Yeah. So like you can't just go stand there without a pre-order. Is like what you're saying?
I mean, you can go stand at Best Buy, but I mean, you're not going to get anything.
Right. Yeah. So wait, but you need a pre-order and then you can go and stand, and then at midnight you can pick it up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
At midnight you'll pick it up yeah. And there's some confusion on whether they're going to go off like midnight Eastern, so then like other places actually getting it at like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
That Best Buy's got to communicate that, but I mean, no one's taking pre-orders yet, so no one's really worrying too much.
Yeah.
It's just exciting that Best Buy's even saying, "Yeah, most of our stores we're doing midnight launch for this." I'm like, "Holy
Yeah.
You're expecting quite a lot." Oh my god.
It'll be good. We're gonna go to our midnight launches, but hopefully us in the US and Canada, hopefully we can pre-order soon. But folks, along with our Switch 2s, a game that we want to pre-order is Mario Kart World. We were talking about it earlier, and we got a Nintendo Direct for that game today as of recording the podcast, 2 days ago as of posting. Let's dive in to our thoughts, what was shown, recap it all, and talk about whether or not this game is worth 80 schmuckaroos. Let's go. Folks, we got a Mario Kart World Nintendo Direct. It was 15 minutes long, April 17th. It's all a good time, or so we thought. Mario Kart World was shown in this Direct, and we got some stuff. Some things were missing. Let's dive into it now. So, to go kind of chronologically here, we wake up today, excited. We stream it. Both of us streamed it, not together, but separate. We stream this. We're excited. All the chat's hyped, and they start off by showing us some brand new courses. So the new courses for Mario Kart. Before the whole Direct, I was kind of saying if they show courses for more than like 2 minutes, that's not a long time. I just want to see new stuff. I was gonna be disappointed. And they did maybe just hit the 2-minute mark or somewhere around there. They showed off a few new courses. They showed Mario Bros. Circuit, which we've seen before, takes place in a desert. Crown City, which is of course in a city. Salty Speedway, which is a water-themed track. Starview Peak, which is an icy track. Boo Cinema, which is spooky. Toad's Factory is returning. Peach Beach, of course, it is on a beach. And Wario Shipyard is a rainy ship-themed track. And then we were all waiting for a Rainbow Road confirmation. We kind of got it. You would know better than I, Nate. We got Rainbow Road leaked by Korea or something?
Yeah, it was one of those. Is Nintendo, as official Nintendo, they put up a piece of art that had it in it, and then they're like, "Oh, whoops!"
Yeah.
once it hits the internet, there is no whoops. It's out there.
There you go. So Rainbow Road. Here's the problem with the Rainbow Road. Is this a miss or not? You only unlock Rainbow Road after you complete all of the Grand Prix Cups. Is that not smart to not have it right in the game at the start?
Traditionally, that's the way Rainbow Road's always been.
Oh, really? Oh, am I an idiot?
At the end.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Now, you might feel that way because like Mario Kart Deluxe, I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, it was already unlocked.
That's what I'm thinking.
You got to remember that like that also included DLC. People don't realize that because it was actually a Wii U game.
That makes sense.
So like everything was kind of unlocked right away in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So it really makes people, they're like, oh, like when you see that, it's like, oh yeah, what up? No, it's always kind of been, and it's always been a extra cup that had it in that would get unlocked after you beat Grand Prix. Whether or not that's an extra cup this time, they just did a very, very light tease. So it's not like we know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm a bit, rusty with that. I've not played a new Mario Kart since 2014. It's been a while. I forgot that's 11, how Rainbow Road
years.
Works. But yes, you need to do that in Mario Kart World as well. And then, I mean, do any of the tracks stand out to you? Like, oh, we got to play this one. For me, my favorite, I think Boo Cinema.
Oh, Boo Cinema, all the way.
Mm-hmm.
I love spooky tracks, and it looks so good.
I know.
Looks so good.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Wario Shipyard was another one that I thought looked awesome.
Mm-hmm. I've been wanting some more spooky tracks. I'm not sure if you play the CTGP, like on the Mario Kart Wii. They have some Halloween-themed ones there, so I love playing those. So I'm glad that we got sort of a spooky Halloween track. That's pretty cool to me. After that, we got a look at the characters. I mean, we saw all the, Mario, Luigi, all of them, Cow. Nothing crazy new. You can look up the entire character roster if you'd like. We can't run through everybody here. But, no new characters were shown, I guess, is the headline for this direct. Nothing new. I did see they showed a couple characters, and I saw this picture of who I now understand to be Baby Mario. I'm not sure if you saw this. Yep. It looked like a brand new character. I could not tell that was Baby Mario. He had some costume on. It was a really weird thing. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Yeah, I did see that.
Okay.
It's cool too, because like this is what's interesting about a direct. They show so much stuff and they don't talk about a lot of the things they're showing. Mm-hmm. Like when they were showing the character selection going through it, there was other new characters in there we hadn't seen before that they just didn't even mention. Like there was a crab. There was also another enemy character that like has never been in Mario Kart before. They didn't just glossed over and didn't even say anything. I'm sure some of you Mario Kart aficionados out there have already figured all this stuff out. But it's wild that like I think the biggest thing was that when on the character select screen, there's 13 pages, 12 characters each, so 156 characters.
Crazy.
Now, granted, they're doing this thing where costumes take up a slot. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that. It's a little. I get that they must affect stats because they did mention that like the character you choose combined with the cart is how your stats work out because there's no cart customization. So then the costumes must affect stats as well. But I'm like, still, okay. I gotta go through 13 pages of mostly costumes. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It should have been just like Smash, where you can change the variation, right on the original character. I don't know why it's like that. It just makes things, as you were kind of saying, like just makes things longer, messier. It's not the best way, but it is a way to have character selections be. So
if the goal was to be different than Mario Kart 8, it's different.
It is indeed different. But after that, they showed Grand Prix and Knockout Tour. From my eyes, I saw nothing new. It was just, the standard stuff.
I mean, the Grand Prix and Knockout Tour section, that to me, when they got to that, I'm like, okay, this is like a recap. They're just recapping stuff they've already announced. They went over, I guess, some of the new items and stuff in there, but the actual like Grand Prix and Knockout Tour, they just re-explained, you drive between them in the Grand Prix, the race doesn't stop.
Yep.
Knockout Tour, you got to be the last to survive. Yeah, there was definitely new footage on some of the new courses in there to dissect for those that want to do that. But just in terms of like the overall features, it was a recap.
Right.
I kind of feel like they didn't need to do that. They've shown so much of that on the Nintendo Treehouse in the last Direct. I feel like they could have just not talked about that at all, really, and just noted it at the end that, hey, we also still have Grand Prix. But I don't know.
Yep. I was going to ask, do you think them showing Mario Kart footage in the beginning of the Switch 2 Direct, I wouldn't say it was like a mistake, but like this feels like a duplicate of that. Like they're re-explaining how Grand Prix works and how Knockout Tour, like we kind of knew all this,
Yeah, this was the one thing I didn't want them to do. And I saw 15 minutes for the Direct. I was like, okay, well, they've had Directs in the past that were packed for 15 minutes with game Directs. So I'm like, all right, maybe it'll just be packed with new. And then they started with courses. I'm like, okay, these are technically new. I can be okay with it. I mean, look, it's Mario Kart. You got to show courses. The Rainbow Road hit. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, if it didn't leak, this would actually have been a much cooler thing. Although maybe even expected, still would have been neat. But then you get into the Grand Prix and Knockout Tour. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Like, we don't really need to be reminded about it unless there's some new feature to it that we don't know about. And you didn't mention any new features to it. So it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of wasted a couple minutes of my time there on a 15-minute Direct.
It
was a little disappointing, I guess, for me, because it felt like you've already kind of beat this over the head. And yes, everyone's loving these modes, but can we people want to know what else is in the game, I was worried for a moment.
I've never seen anybody better at killing time than Nintendo. Like, it's crazy how they can find spots to kill time, even in like general Directs. It's crazy to me. So I would honestly say there wasn't much new in everything that we've talked about so far. Grand Prix, Knockout Tour, courses. I mean, new courses, I guess we kind of got a good look at, but this is a wasted like 5 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Like not
a third of the Direct.
Yeah, not a good start. Not a good start.
No.
So after that, we did get some new items, a look at new items, which to me, somebody who had not previously dissected previous footage, these were all brand new. I'd never seen these before, but to my understanding, things like the coin shell, the ice flower were able to be seen in previous footage. Not sure if it was the treehouse or the Switch 2 Direct. Yep.
So the coin shell, ice flower, the hammer, the mega mushroom, and the burgers and food, all of that, and even the feather, all of that was in the Switch 2 experience that people were playing, and also most of that was at least seen, not necessarily used in the treehouse stuff. The one that was completely new that nobody really they teased, but no one knew what it was the Kamek one.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't in the demo. Like that one's also my favorite new item because what's Kamek gonna do now that we can like drive on walls and stuff? Oh,
yeah. What does it do though? Because I saw it get used, and then every racer just turned into charging Chuck. Like what happened? Like what does it do?
Yeah, so I'm wondering. So like obviously we don't. Obviously, okay, it does that right?
Yeah.
It adds some wildness to it out of nowhere. You just everyone changes to the same character. Cool, but does it actually give you a benefit? The only thing I can think about is maybe it's more like a fun way to use a lightning bolt where you are actually a little bit faster than everyone that gets hit with it.
Yeah.
Because maybe you don't change. I don't know. I obviously I don't know because they didn't explain it. It just looks hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that. I love that. I'm like, wait a second, that is actually wild. That's never happened in Mario Kart before. Holy crud.
I will take it. But yes, just a recap for those who want to know. The coin shell is a new item. You can throw it and it makes a bunch of coins on the track that anybody can go and grab. Ice flower, to me, works about the same as a fire flower. Like you fire it off and it just kind of freezes you for a second. It turns you around, spins you around.
Different animation, but yeah.
There's the hammer, which you can throw hammers at people. I wouldn't compare it to the boomerang, but it's like, you throw it ahead and it kind of knocks people off. The hammers actually do stick for a few seconds though. So if people want to run into it, that's nice, Yeah,
that's a new sort of mechanic I think that people are going to find with the hammer. That it's not best to aim for people. It's best to aim for in front of them and kind of block their way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And we also got the Mega Mushroom. As you said, you can run over people. I imagine maybe it makes you faster, even a little bit. That makes sense.
It's got it. It wouldn't make any sense if you weren't a little bit faster.
Exactly.
You
get the feather, which has been a thing. We even had it in like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like battle mode. I'm not sure if it's in the regular races, but at least battle mode. There's a feather in Mario Kart 8, so you can use that. The Kamek or Kamek, I always thought it was Kamek, but in these directs recently, they've been saying Kamek, so I'm gonna roll with that, I guess. And then the burgers and food, it just transforms you into a new costume. Like if Mario, my example that I've written here is if Peach eats sushi like she did in the direct, she has a kimono on. She's like Sushi Peach, so turns into that kind of character. Overall, which item, Nate, is your favorite?
I mean, I want to say comic, but I don't know what it does.
Yeah,
what it does.
exactly.
It's hilarious and it's the most surprising one. I think, the hammer one I think is the most interesting, but I think it's the feather that's going to be the most useful because it could take you can use that jump to get to other areas of the track or get to the sidewalls or get to other things that give you boosts. And I think that's going to be everyone's going to want feathers because you could probably use it also to dodge items. That's always been a thing you could do with the feather in the past. So I think, I know it's the least interesting, guys, because it's the one that's been in Mario Kart before.
Yep.
But also, it hasn't. We just went through a whole thing with the Mario Kart 8 for 11 years, where it wasn't usable outside of battle modes. So I'm excited about that because you add that with the new traversal, and I think some crazy things. You're gonna see some people doing some crazy things on these tracks if you combine the feather with the new traversal techniques.
Indeed, feather is cool. I've always liked that, even in battle mode like we have now. It's always been fun to use. I think for me, oh man, this is tough. It's not ice flower. It's not very special.
Yeah, ice flower just feels like fireballs, which is fine. It's a change up, I guess.
I'm gonna say coin shell. I think that's a cool new idea. Now, I don't know if that's gonna be more useful than some of the other ones like the Mega Mushroom, but I think coin shell. Something about it seemed cool and it made sense when I was watching it. So I think I'll stick with that. I think coin shell is cool.
All right.
Then I was excited about this. We got some new tricks and features, only 2 here. The first thing is the new charge jump, where if you hold down, I believe, the drift button, you can charge up some power and then jump. Say if you want to jump over a car that is in your way on some track, or you want to jump over a shell that is coming behind you, you can do that. Hold it down, then you can jump. And then the other thing I thought didn't really fit in a Mario Kart game is the rewind feature, where if you mess up, only in free roam or solo races, if you mess up or fall off a track, you can rewind and be put back on the track where you were. If you're maybe trying to perfect a certain shortcut or something, does not work online. And also beware, if you use it in an actual race, not everyone else around you rewinds. It's just you. So you might move back a few places if you use it. Nate, thoughts on either of these features?
I actually have a use case for this in Grand Prix if you're playing solo. That if you're struggling, where are all the best items? Towards the back.
Oh yeah, that's smart.
Rewind right before an item box, so you can get a better item. Like I don't know if we can control the duration of the rewind. Like, is it always the full one we saw, or can it just be a little bit? If it could just be a little bit, if I could just bump myself back to 10th place quick, so I can get the better item off the double item box. I'm cool with that. I'll give up a few places for that, because I know those items are gonna exponentially put me way more ahead. So that was something I thought about, and I also said, maybe that's also why it's not in multiplayer. Yeah, because everyone's gonna be, we're at the item box. What place am I? I'm in second. We rewind, so I'm in 5th quick.
Overused for sure. Yeah.
So I get that, but yeah, it is weird to you rewind, but nobody else does, especially when it's only single player. But I guess maybe you want to make things more challenging for yourself, or you just really care that, hey, I just really want to go on this secret route. I don't really care what place I take. I just want to get there, and I missed the jump, or I noticed it while I was jumping midair, and I'm like, I didn't even know I could go over there. Oh my God, I'm gonna rewind so I can try that. I think that's cool, and I think in free roam it makes lots of sense. That way you don't have to drive all the way back around to hit that same jump. I think that's just a time saver at that point, just to give you an opportunity to see, okay, if I angle differently, if I use my item differently, can I get to where I was trying to get to? So I think the rewind feature blew me away at first, because when they first showed it, I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine the chaos this is going to be in multiplayer? It's not in multiplayer. Okay. Kind of took a little rain out of it, because I also think it's kind of cheating in multiplayer, but I guess if everyone's still going forward, that would have been the counterbalance, right? Everyone else is still racing, but you stopped yourself. Well, then, okay, people might not use it as much unless they got hit with a blue shell in the middle of a jump. That would be the one time, and maybe the rewind's a little bit better than getting hit by a blue shell. But no, I think it's a really cool feature for solo, and I think free roam's really where it's gonna be a lot of fun. In free roam. Yeah,
I think free roam is best. I mean, even in a solo race, I don't think I'm ever going to use rewind. You don't want to get behind. Maybe I'll try it out, as you were saying, get some items, or maybe you can hang back in 10th place, get a bullet build, and shoot up in the last lap. Maybe there's some strategies there. We will see. But those are
or if you don't like it, if you don't like the item you got in the box, can you rewind before you got it so you can get a new item?
That's true. Maybe that's a good one. Like if you get a banana peel, but you want a green shell or something like that. Yeah. I like that. Then probably the biggest story of the Direct, I would maybe argue, is that free roam has a purpose. It has a purpose. You're not going in there driving around doing nothing. You can actually, in free roam, do missions. We have found out you can, we saw, I believe, a P-switch. Not sure if it was in the treehouse or in the Switch 2 Direct. We knew that there was some little new element to free roam, and now we have that confirmed. So there are P-switches in the Mario Kart World free roam. You can run over those, and then, for example, gotta collect all these blue coins before the time runs out. There's also going to be hidden collectible coins and panels across the map, where I imagine it's just, they're hidden. They're in kind of small hidden spots. You go and find them. You can say, hey, I got all the coins in free roam, and that's just cool. I think it's cool that it has more of a purpose, because if it was just free roam, where you just drive, I don't think I would ever use it.
Yeah, and I think the missions are actually a huge part because in the press release, and I think they actually said in there, there's hundreds of missions in free roam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like a huge part of free roam. And I'm very curious. Like, I think there's a lot of unique things they could do with the coins because we all know, like in Mario games, you get the coins and you complete the little coin challenge. Well, we're in a racing game, so it makes sense. It's going to be something related to movement for your missions. But I'm curious, like what they're gonna like, where they're gonna try to make you go with it that you maybe wouldn't think of going. And that's where the fun comes in. Where like they're making you just do all this crazy stuff that, because they mentioned that like it's about making you better at the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they just thought, hey, we have all these new mechanics. Most people aren't really going to understand this. But let's make these missions where it forces them to have to use all these new mechanics.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of fun's going to go in. Plus, it looks like what was the one that the panel, like the question block panel.
Yes.
They kind of hinted like it opens up new areas, and I'm like,
That's big.
Like areas you can't even get to like normally. Like that's actually really fascinating. And they literally showed that it's pretty free roam.
Mm-hmm.
You can fly off a cliff right into the ocean. Who cares?
Pretty cool. Yeah. So here was my biggest thing though. I was tuning into this direct to see if this free roam would be crazy big because I read a quote from, I believe, IGN's article where they interviewed Bill Trinan, and he was saying how he read IGN's article where they said they didn't find much to discover in free roam, and Bill Trinan in that quote said, "Tune into the direct and maybe you'll see a bit more." Do you think this is all free roam needs, like just some P-switch, some collectibles, or would you have wanted more here?
Well, I think most people's disappointment is I think they wanted some sort of story mode or campaign in the free roam.
Yep.
And that doesn't appear to be in as far as we can tell. They didn't announce it. I feel like they would have announced it if it was in. I think this is one of those things where I'm going to reserve judgment because everything I saw looked great. But like, is there more variety to the P switches? Is there more variety, to the coins? Like, is there? It's all about the variety. And because I even go back to, it's a weird example, going back to like Breath of the Wild. What did they do for you to discover? Shrines. So it was all about finding the shrines. But sometimes the shrines got boring because a lot of them were just repeatable battle shrines. So, okay, yeah, we're collecting blue coins. How do you keep that interesting for hundreds of challenges? Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like the fact that there is hundreds tells me they found a way.
Yep.
But we don't know because we only saw them really do one. Okay, that one was just jumping across ropes. Fine. But like, I'm assuming there must be some really, really difficult ones. Some ones that just use a really cool method of doing things. I even talked about how like, the people thought there might have been a boss mode because people have seen some of the free roam footage, like some really big enemies out there. Like, what if one of them is like you actually have to somehow ride around the enemy itself, and when you collect the coin, it hits a weak point and it makes the boss freak out, which makes it harder to complete the. Like, there could be some really cool ideas in there that are just built around. It's racing. It's a racing game. It's not like one of those racing games where you're what is it, Twisted Metal, where you have like guns on your car and you're shooting. Like, no, you're just running around. What would be interesting is if some of the blue coin stuff involves item trick shots, and that would be really fascinating. We obviously don't know if there's even items in free roam, but if there is, item trick shots would be sick. Getting people to finally learn how to aim green shells properly, since so many that play the game don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's just so there could be a lot of interesting stuff. So it's like I'm cautiously optimistic because they just showed a basic intro. I think they're leaving a lot for us to discover, and I think that's the whole point of free roam. So I'm nervous that it actually just will be lame. Like, it's because they just said, it teaches you how to be a better driver. I'm like, okay, so it's a glorified tutorial,
right?
Or is that just the first couple you might find, and then they actually get more interesting the more of them that you find? I don't know.
Yeah, we will see. I think it looks fine. Like, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it for a few. But as you were saying, like if collecting blue coins gets kind of repetitive, I don't know how long I can stick to it, But I like the collectible coins and special panels and all that. I like how there's more of a purpose. I feel like if we didn't have that, I don't have too many friends I'd free roam with. I mean, I just like, if we're playing multiplayer, we're going to play races. So now I kind of have a reason to do it solo. I like that. And I'll probably find some sort of joy in there I just see myself playing the races more. I wish there was a bit more of a purpose, but I am fine with this. I'm fine with this being the content in there. Only other thing to close out the Direct was just the support of the Switch 2 camera. Pretty much, if you maybe, for example, are all in one room, you and three other people, you can have one camera and you can put the camera on everyone's face and you can see people's faces in the game when you're racing. That works locally and I believe online as well if they also have the Switch 2 camera. So camera usage, can't hate it. Do you think they're going to have the camera be used in like a lot more games? Because it seems like a bunch of games, like aside from at this point, Donkey Kong Bonanza and Dragon X Drive, like everything has the camera, you know? Or I shouldn't say that because like all the Switch 2 editions don't have camera. I'll stop saying that. But like, do you think the camera could be like a big thing moving forward?
I think there'll be camera features because I remember the game chat stuff is local on the system, so it's localized. You can use it with any game. So I think the camera will be a thing in pretty much any multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. There'll be an option, turn on and off. I'm sure like the next Splatoon could have something like that, which would be hilarious if you see people you're going against and see their face when they get splatted like that. You know, see them get mad in real time. It would be hilarious. So I do think it's going to be something that's used in all their multiplayer games, obviously optionally. So that's kind of what I think. I like what they're doing with it. I think it's neat. I don't think a lot of people are going to actually have a camera. Everyone will have the local mic if they want to use the game chat. But I don't think everyone's actually going to have a camera. And you can use other cameras as well. But, you know, it's not like Connect, you know, it's not in the box, which thank God it's not. I actually don't want it to be in the box. It should be optional. But I don't know. That's sort of my thoughts on that. I think it's really neat, and I think almost every multiplayer game from Nintendo at least will use it. It'll be curious if any third-party games ever decide to use it, because we haven't seen any third-party game touch that feature.
Mm-hmm. Imagine, like, you know, you're playing college football 26, you can see someone's face, like someone's camera. Oh, that'll be great. If you're playing Madden or something, you can see. That'll be nice, but overall, Mario Kart Direct happened. 15 minutes, a little bit of juice in there. What would you rate the Direct out of 10? If, you know, 10 being best, 1 being worst. What would you give it out of 10 overall?
Well, I was already really excited for the game, so I didn't need this to sell it for me. So keeping that in mind, it wasn't like the greatest.
Right.
I'll give it a 7.
Okay.
I think it was solid. You know, it did things like confirm, like bringing back the battle modes and stuff. And they look way better than they did in Mario Kart 8. So when you have like that stuff kind of confirmed, and they added that new coin mode, which is interesting. Yeah. I'll try it out. Maybe I like it more than the battle balloons. Mm-hmm. So I think they did enough. Like there was many times, and I was watching on my camera. I'm like, oh my, I'm smiling. So I'm definitely liking this.
Yes.
Like I'm clearly enjoying it, even if it's not quite as much as I thought it might be. But I also came away thinking, man, even the things they explained, they showed so little. They're hiding so much because it's a collectathon. They've turned it into a collectathon game. Yep. You're collecting things all over. So if there's any more unlockables or any more unlockable stages or courses or even an unlockable mode, I think maybe the only thing I walked away why I didn't give it a higher than a 7 is I do think they wasted like 5 minutes of stuff I didn't really need to see. And then there's no tournament mode. They took away tournament mode.
Oh, boy.
And that's just good. Don't get me wrong. I probably won't give a crap because Knockout, it looks like it's the
pretty
thing
cool
to be.
Yeah.
But like it looks like that's really what you want to be playing. But as long as there's like Knockout and online, which there has to be, and then there's rankings, I'll be fine with it then. I can handle not having tournament mode, even though, sorry, community, I can't set up a tournament for us anymore. Maybe they'll let me set up a pseudo knockout one. I don't know, but there's no option that we saw on the screen for it. Mm-hmm.
I think a 7 is nice. I think, I mean, just watching the entire thing, I was smiling like you were. I was enjoying it. It was nice. But it was a lot of, I feel, repeated information. There was just a lot of, you know, a Grand Prix. You know, we know that that's going to be in there. It was a lot of, here are the characters. We've seen all the characters. It was, I guess here's my complaint. Out of all the things they showed, repeated or not, we didn't get a whole lot of new things where we could have. So, for example, battle mode's back. We didn't know that for sure. Woohoo! However, they only showed coin runners and balloon battle, two of the ones that we have already in Mario Kart 8. I would like to see some new battle modes. They showed, went over all the characters. I would like to see maybe, if maybe Mii's are going to be in the game, throw some new character in there or something. We got all the courses. That's cool. I wanted more new to go along with the repeated information. I walk away and the only real new thing is the free roam stuff. I shouldn't say only new thing, but mostly what I'm walking away with is free roam is fun. Battle mode's back. There's new tricks. Okay. Items. Like, there's no real big thing that I'm coming away with. And I'm like, yes, I cannot wait. I guess that's my only complaint, but should that have even been in this direct? Like, is this direct a direct that you walk away from and then be like, I cannot wait? Like, were my expectations too high? I don't know. I give it, I think, a 5. I don't walk away any different. Hardly,
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I already knew they already did enough to sell me on it. Just what they're doing with connecting the courses together, I think it's a really unique thing. And then Knockout Tour. After hearing everyone, like, I know people who played it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the killer thing in this game is Knockout Tour. So I'm like, that's awesome. So I didn't need to be sold, but when I came in, I admit, like, that's why I also gave it a 7 instead of going higher. I tend to be a bit more favorable. I'm not quite as critical sometimes of Nintendo as I probably should be, but they just didn't do. I think this was safe. I think they played it safe. So, like, when I do a 7 out of 10, I'm like, well, that's like a C. I think it was like the safest thing they could have done. And I always try to remind myself, they always have ramp up marketing campaigns about a month out. We're not a month out yet.
Yep.
So I think in May, you're going to see a lot of like weekly stuff happening for Mario Kart. And they might even reveal something big in some of that. Like, I know people wanted to see a DLC reveal. I actually was kind of happy there was no DLC. That was the one thing I was actually kind of going against the grain, because I'm like, I don't like hearing about DLC before a game comes out. Yep. It's like, I want to know you put everything you could into this game. Now it's the DLC a year from now or whatever,
Right.
I think one thing that was missing that would have made me go higher would have been we just needed some sort of event.
Right.
Like, they hosted a lot of events with Mario Kart, and a lot of it was through tournaments. Okay, we don't have that. So what's the new event thing? We don't know. To your point, like, a lot of the things they showed in this direct were things that have been in prior games. Now, I do think the balloon battle stuff looks way better than it was in Mario Kart 8. But we only saw a very little bit of it. It's like, is there some crazy new stuff even in just that mode that you're just not telling us?
Maybe.
Or is it just the way it's always been, which is fine as long as you have like really cool maps. That's really usually what makes that mode. But I don't know. Like, is there more hidden here? I don't know. I feel like in the free roam mode, there's clearly some more hidden stuff. But it was safe. It was a safe direct.
Yep.
And I'm okay with it being a safe direct as long as they get a little more dangerous later. If they don't, and this. I was telling my co-host on my podcast that was on my live reaction. I said, sometimes, and you read the chat and see some people disappointed. It's like, you got to take things at face value. We're assuming things that they're hiding or this, but there might not be. And if this is just what it is, you can understand why people might be disappointed. Mm-hmm. Like, for him, he got to play hands-on. He went to the Switch 2 experience. So that's different. Once you play something, usually your minds can shift. And I think that's what Nintendo might be banking on with this game is, it's expensive, it's this or that, but when people play it, they're not going to be able to stop talking about it.
Yep.
And I feel like they're hoping for that word of mouth that kind of helped Breath of the Wild and the rest kind of blow up, being like, hey, once you touch it, those complaints you had just suddenly kind of melt away because it's just so fun.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But we'll see.
It's going to be one of those things, as you were just saying, where you get it and it's like the greatest thing of all time, even though it didn't seem like that, beforehand. But I gotta title this podcast something, Nate. So let me ask you this: we have not played the game, okay? But just off of what we can see, we don't know everything. Don't know everything. Do you think this game should really be valued at $80? Let me know. Just from what we've seen.
So, I never want gaming to get more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It's already an expensive hobby. Console gaming in particular has always been a really expensive hobby. Going all the way back to the 90s. We had $100 games back then. It's insane to think about that from the 90s. That's why we rented things. That's why Blockbuster was so huge. We game rented all the time. That's not a thing today.
Gamefly.
I guess it's Gamefly. That's like it. It does exist. People do use it. People in my chat say, I use Gamefly. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Also, do you guys know public libraries still exist and they have Switch games at them?
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that because I don't go to the public library
Neither.
often, but like you can just rent for free at public library. I think that's kind of cool. I don't know how up to date they keep that game selection. I'm assuming not the most up to date, probably older ones. Like you probably get Breath of the Wild there now.
Mm-hmm.
Is Tears of the Kingdom there though? Probably not. I have no idea.
Yep.
But I will say that I mentioned I was already sold before the direct, meaning I was okay spending 80, but a lot of that's because there's not a single Mario Kart game I've never put 1,000 hours in. Mm-hmm. And so that's 2 cents an hour. How can I complain about that value for entertainment?
Right.
But also that means I was doing that for 60 before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting even better value for the money. So did they do enough? I don't think there's enough shown that the people who are mad about the price will have their mind changed. Anyone who wasn't mad about the price was because they were thinking like me. I put so many hours in the Mario Kart. What's 20 more bucks?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think they should have probably put it at 70. I think Donkey Kong showed better because it's so fresh and so new. People look at that for 70 and like, oh, that looks incredible. Maybe even a game of the year kind of game. This is just Mario Kart. It's like, yeah, but it's going to be their best seller. Like they're priced at 80 because it's going to be their number one selling game.
Mm-hmm. It'll sell either way.
Will,
yep.
I will know. We talked about pre-orders earlier. I don't know for sure, but I've heard through the grapevine that like roughly 70% of the Switch 2s available in the US for day one are going to be bundles.
Oh.
So I always try to remember that like most people aren't actually going to be paying 80 for this. They're going to get it digitally for $50 with a bundle.
Yeah. So
well, for 50, that's an incredible deal.
It's
at
a
50.
lot nicer.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the thing. That's only a limited time. Of course, knowing Nintendo, that limited time is every holiday.
Of course. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I don't know. I do think that it's tough to justify it at 80 for most people. I just know how much Mario Kart I play. It could have been 100 and it still would have been a value compared to what I spend to go to a movie theater. So
right. I just feel like when you put it in the perspective of they're just doing the same thing that they did with Tears of, I cannot talk, with Tears of the Kingdom. They're doing the exact same thing. You bump it up $10, but games just cost 70 now. It's 70, but because it'll sell, they're going to put it up 10. When you put it in that perspective, like 80 still sucks, but it's like I can understand it a little bit more, I guess would be the explanation. Like
it's a business decision to make more money. I mean, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, me and you are both going to pay 80 or 50, whatever we decide.
If I don't get the bundle, if I somehow can only get the non-bundle, I guess I'm paying 80.
Yeah. To me, I think over time, there's going to be enough value to where like you don't want to pay $80, but like, will it be worth it? Not to shill. I think yes. I think like over the years, because it's been 11 years since Mario Kart 8. Everyone got their value out of that. I think it's going to be another, not 11 years, but maybe like 7 or somewhere in that range of Mario Kart World. I think over time you're going to get the $80 value, just of the hundreds, if not thousands of hours put into it. So I think it's not the best looking price on paper, but it will be worth it as time goes on. But folks, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think for some people it's hard to swallow an $80 price for something that definitely is not going to be up for Game of the Year.
Mm-hmm. Right,
it's not that kind of game. Yeah. So like, it's hard.
Mm-hmm. It is indeed. Folks, let us know what you think of Mario Kart World. Are you picking it up on launch day? I mean, if you're buying a Switch 2 launch day, you're probably buying it launch day. So, let us know in the comments. But folks, it is time to get to our final segment, the Q&A segment, where me and Nate answer your questions you asked us. Let's go ahead. Let's get to it. Folks, you have made it to the question block segment, the Q&A segment. Me and Nate are going to answer your questions. If you want to ask a question on the podcast, there are 3 ways to do so. Number 1, I post on my YouTube community tab every Tuesday. You can check that out. Or if you don't want to wait, I have a Discord server link down below. You can join that and leave your questions in the podcast questions channel. Or if you don't want to do that, if you're a bit more maybe old school, you can email mariomatterquestions@gmail.com. And our first question comes from the nerd Hinox, who asks, if this is being recorded before the Mario Kart World Direct, what are you expecting? If it's being recorded after, which we are, what is one thing that you expected to be in the Mario Kart Direct that didn't make it? Nate, I'll start with you.
Man.
That's kind of tough.
It's tough. Maybe, there's 2 things I talked about the Direct that I thought, before the Direct, that I thought would be cool. So I guess I can just say those 2 things. One is obviously a story or campaign mode. I don't even know how they would do it. Don't really care. That's just, I always like to see that in any multiplayer game, having a single player mode. Splatoon does it. It would have been cool to see it for this one. And then the other one was, any confirmation that there might be more than one continent.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot more tracks, which still might be a thing, but also might just be saved for DLC, which is totally fine as well. But any confirmation that was a thing, I think would have really got people excited, even if we couldn't see any of it. Like if they had just teased
a little something.
Oh, there's a little something. Like they bring out the world and they spin it and they go, "What's this?" It's a question mark, and they don't even say it. They just move on. Mm-hmm. So that, I guess, those are the 2 things one of those 2 things I hope to see, and neither of it happened. So,
yep. This is hard for me because I don't know what I expected in the first place. Like, I don't know what I was expecting at all. Now, I definitely wanted a story mode. In my wildest dreams, I wanted a build your own track. That would never happen. But like in my dreams, if I could have any feature, it'd be that. But I wasn't really expecting those things. So I don't know that I have a good answer. I guess one smaller thing that I expected was new characters that were maybe not necessarily Mario characters, like, the Animal Crossings, the Splatoons, the Miis, things like, at least Miis of some, you gotta bring those back. You just did Tomodachi Life. Bring the Miis back in full force. I would have liked that. But yeah, just some, I guess, non-Mario characters. But no, DLC can always happen, but as of right now, it is all Mario characters. So I guess I would have expected something else, but no, that is fine with me. I'm glad they added like the entire Mario universe and not just like, here's a few more Mario characters, here's Pauline, here's, I mean, Pauline was always in Mario Kart 8, right? But, or the DLC, but like, here's the cow and that's it. Like, thankfully they added a bunch of things,
Yeah. Yeah. That was the cool thing is like, okay, if you're going to go all in on Mario, then, get the whole universe involved.
Exactly.
It feels like they did that. So,
Gotta love it. Sea-Dog asks, what is you and the guest's favorite third-party game that is coming to Switch 2? Oh, I know mine. But go ahead.
What's yours? Go for it.
Mine is Madden. Because that way, I can just play it all on one console. I don't have to own an Xbox, play it there, then go back to the Switch. It's all on one system,
So I would go with Madden. I'm in a kind of a competitive league with a bunch of buddies every year. But I don't trust EA to give me the actual complete full version that's compatible with all the other ones.
Why not?
Why not? Do we have to go with the Legacy Edition of FC and FIFA on Switch? That's not actually the current version.
I'm not familiar Madden, with those. What is it like?
Yeah. So FIFA and FC, which is what FIFA turned into.
Right.
On Switch is not actually the same version as the other systems. It's a Legacy Edition.
See, that makes sense.
And the last time we had Madden was on Wii U, and that was also a year older version, just reskinned to the new one. And people
now
go,
I see your
that's
word.
what Madden is every time. I'm like, no, actually Madden had like a physics engine, had a whole new thing, and didn't have any of that. And so the way Madden works is it's cross-platform. So you can be on PlayStation or Xbox and be in the same online leagues and play together.
Right.
because there's this feature parity. I don't trust EA to do that because they haven't done that for Nintendo since like GameCube.
Now I understand where you're coming from.
So I'm not as excited because the thing I'm going to play the most is going to be with my online franchise with my buddies. Well, I don't even know if I can even do that on Switch. So like, I don't even know if I'm going to buy it because I have to wait and see. And my audience knows Madden, they hate when I bring it up because everyone hates Madden and yearly franchise. But I'm like, I can't help it. It's fun. I'm an NFL guy. It's, you know,
it's cool.
So setting that aside, since I don't think I'll be able to use it the way I want, I'm excited they're bringing it. I need to see that feature parity and see the cross-platform. Look, they kind of announced a lot of big games that have already been out. Obviously, if you're just going to say straight up third party, well, technically From Software is a third party and they're making Dust Bloods. That's the one I'm most excited for, but it's an exclusive. So I'll veer away from that because there's obviously a contract involved for that. Same with Hades 2 being a timed console exclusive. Obviously, Nintendo paid some money for that. So I'll go with like a true third party. It's probably Elden Ring because I haven't beaten Elden Ring yet. And the idea of being able to play it on a Nintendo system to me just makes me smile. And I don't know if it's going to play well. That's to be seen. But that one really, really excites me. And I was in a really big toss up between that one and Hogwarts Legacy, although it'd be like my third time playing that game. But like, I really love the world of Harry Potter. So like just being able to actually play it and be good instead of what it was on Switch.
Yeah.
Would be, it's playable on Switch, guys. It's fine. It's just, if you play it anywhere else, you're not getting the same experience. But yeah, I think I'll lean towards Elden Ring just because I haven't actually beaten it. And that would be, I know how great that game is. I know how much fun I had with it. So I probably would actually beat it. That was the one thing about Elden Ring is I owned it on PlayStation 5 and I didn't have a portal. So I couldn't play it when I left. And I realized a lot of my games, the only reason I finished them is because it's on Switch and I can play it everywhere. And so that's a big appeal factor to me with Elden Ring is I can play this everywhere. I can play it on my TV, but also on the go. And I know some people are like, well, you just get a Steam Deck. I'm like, it doesn't come with the dock. And a lot more investment in there.
Yeah.
You know?
You know that the Switch 2's power more than I do. Do you know if it's like pretty similar to a PS5 or an Xbox?
I mean, it's not a PS5 or Xbox Series X, that's for sure. I mean, that's to be expected. Those pull like 200, 220 watts.
Yep.
This thing maxes out at like 40 in docked mode, supposedly. So it's a tablet with a battery. Yep. You got to keep it in check. It certainly appears to be more powerful than a PlayStation 4. Probably more in line with like a Pro or Series S or somewhere in between there. Like some games are going to look better than they do on those systems, but some games won't because it's using more modern features than both. But can those modern features make up for the fact that when you're in handheld, you have like 10 to 15 watts? It's interesting, but I think it's in the sweet spot where, look, we're getting Cyberpunk, we're getting Elden Ring, we're getting a From Software exclusive game. We know Call of Duty is going to come over. If we start to see more and more of these big AAA games get announced, it's going to be like, okay, it clearly did the dance of still being this portable thing, but we did enough that third parties are going to be here. And be here with like competent versions of their games. I think that's the key thing is competent versions of their games.
Yeah.
That's all I think Nintendo needed to do. Because Nintendo's games are going to look incredible on it, so I'm not worried about them.
My follow-up was going to be, is GTA 6 coming to Switch 2? No, I guess not.
I mean, look, they haven't dropped a new trailer yet. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Leave it out there. Who knows? I mean, that's the one audience GTA is not grabbing is the other console that sells a lot. So we'll see. I'm always going to hold on. I'm going to hold out hope until it never happens.
Epic E3G asks, do you think Nintendo will make any Switch 2 Lite, OLED, or Pro models? I think that we can say yes, but if your answer is yes, which ones do you see?
Well, Lite for sure. They've been doing that many generations. It's their way to get a budget system out there. I think it's primarily targeted for kids. That's the way I've always felt. Even on the DS. And I know some people love the DS Lite and we're adults and everything. That's fine. But I think the idea is a budget platform where parents are going to feel more comfortable spending like $300 for a Lite for their kid versus spending $450.
Right.
I think that's just a much more approachable price point for like Christmas presents and stuff. And then so for like the OLED or Pro models, I think it's really interesting. I think ideally Nintendo is probably mapping out a Pro model. It seems like they had one mapped out till COVID hit for Switch. And there's little evidences in the OS and everything that it was a thing. Even the fact that the dock can be updated. Why can it be updated?
Yep.
Well, it has the ability to output 4K, but it's not doing it. Why? Why is it disabled software wise? Well, because the thing they wanted to make they didn't actually release. So the interesting part though is like if they don't do an upgraded model like that where it's more power, would they do just another OLED model? And I think it's interesting with OLED. They talked about why they didn't use an OLED screen in their interview with the three directors. And basically, they were having a really, really hard time getting HDR to function correctly on the OLED screen. And that's actually true if you look at like OLED monitors and smaller screens, not the TVs. The TVs sorted it out. There was a brightness problem. And you need really, really high brightness and contrast to pull off HDR. And if you see any of the comparisons of people that go hands-on with like their OLED, and they show this at max brightness next to the Switch 2, it looks dim.
Yeah.
Very dim. HDR needs like 1,000 nits. So I feel like there's a possibility they maybe don't go in that direction. Instead of it being an OLED, maybe it gets upgraded to like a mini LED or a QLED. It's still an LCD tech, but just a better one. But I don't think they do that without. The problem is, how do you sell that to consumers, right? Like, oh, it's not really that much better. Oh, the bezels are smaller. Well, then, okay, it's got to be more powerful. It's got to have an actual upgrade.
Right.
So yeah, I do think, and Nintendo's done this whole 2-3 model thing for a while, the XLs, the lights. There's no reason they're going to go away from that. It works. I mean, the OLED model became their number one seller the moment they released it. So
yeah. I think light, as you said, is a lock. That's going to happen at some point. Probably,
yeah.
I would say sooner rather than later, because this is your most expensive console, and the point is to make a more budget one, as you were just saying. So I think I could see that one coming like after a year of Switch 2, like not sooner, but not too much later.
Holiday 2026, maybe.
Yep, around there.
It's about a year and a half.
Somewhere in there. I just feel like you want that out more than you want the Switch Lite out, because Switch is $300. That's fair. This is $450. You want to get something a bit lower. Light, I think, will happen. Pro and OLED, I don't see OLED happening, because as you were just saying, like, the Switch 2 screen is great. It can maybe be improved years down the line, but I would say if you do that, you put it in the Pro model. So yes, I think there will be a Pro model of some sort, as you were saying. That was obviously in the plans. I think it'll happen. The only thing I worry about is just that Pro model's price is going to be a bit nuts. I don't know, like $550. Hopefully not $600.
If they could pull it off, if they can only go up $50, that would be sweet. But I don't. It's hard to imagine it not, especially with the way the economy is going, not being at least 100 more. If they go to 6, it won't be the number one seller. I'll tell you that. I'm not saying people won't buy it, but your normal model will be the number one seller still, because you're going to price yourself out of a lot of people.
Yes,
but we have to wait and see, because it's all about like what it is. Like if it's a more powerful model, but all they did was overclock the chip inside, well then yeah, maybe that's only a $50 increase, because it's like the same components, but you just shrunk it so you can get more out of it, and then maybe you threw in like an extra 2 gigs of RAM. Well, okay, that's not going to be that big of a deal. But then you can maybe do a $50 increase.
Yeah.
Then that might be best case scenario if you want to keep it affordable, but still it's better. Games do run better. They do look a little better. Frame rates are a little better. Because that's really the whole point of more power is that. Or maybe this is the caveat. Maybe, yeah, it's overclocked and everything. That's great. But because they added like that extra 2 gigs of RAM, the game chat no longer runs at 15 frames a second for all those gameplay footages. That could be like, and that would feel like a very substantial upgrade to a lot of people. Like, oh, now it runs at a full 30 frames on those 4 streams. Like that would just on the surface level be like, whoa, that's a big improvement.
A lot nicer.
When really they just needed a couple more gigs of RAM to do it. That's
Yeah. When do you think a Pro model would release? Like halfway through its life?
It would. So I have this internal debate on if it's going to release before or after the next 3D Zelda. So I'm very curious about
before,
that.
I think.
Yeah, because if it's 4 years out, that's 2029. That's the same schedule as the OLED. And I do think that this is probably another 7, 8, 9 year platform. I think the years of like 6-year platforms are kind of behind us. And I know some people think like PlayStation 6 will be out in like 2 years. I'm not so sure about that. Especially looking at how they're still price hiking. They can't get the price of PS5 down. It's just going up. What do you think is going to happen with PlayStation 6 with that shocking reveal price? So I kind of feel like this generation is also going to get extended, at least for PlayStation and Xbox. Well, maybe not so much Xbox. They're in a different place right now as a company. But yeah, I kind of think that, if this is an 8-year, 9-year platform, well, midway through makes the most sense. So that's 4 years. That's 2029. That I feel like that should be after, because 3D Zelda, I suspect 2028 at the latest. That would give it because they didn't make any DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. So then that's about 5, almost 6-year development cycle there. And you got to consider that Tears of the Kingdom, they were only polishing it for that final year. Yeah. So they could have already been working on the new Zelda during that final year, had a small team doing it. So I feel like that is probably going to be after that. So that's 4 years from now. I think that's fair. I think there's not as much of a rush to get that out. And I think the rush to get that out is not really even a rush. It's just around the time people are starting to settle in with a PlayStation 6 is around the time you should probably get this upgraded model out the door.
Yep. I like it. I like the timeline. I'd say like halfway through we could get a little pro model action. That'll be nice. And finally, this is small text I have to move. Kaysen asks, who should be the newcomers for the base game of the next Smash game, as well as the DLC? My personal desire is Paper Mario and Paper Bowser, and it can be from any game like Sora for Ultimate. Love the videos. Keep up the content. Thank you. I'll start with you.
Oh, boy.
Tough.
Smash characters are wild because they can be literally anything. That's what we've seen. Anything that basically isn't Sony owned is on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
So look, I always go to the Microsoft side of things. I want Conker. I want him in here. I love Conker's Bad for a Day. They clearly don't care about adding M-rated characters because they've already done it. So get them in there. They did Banjo-Kazooie. That was one of my favorite things they did with the last one. So, and look, Microsoft loves you. Get Master Chief. Get them in there.
Makes sense.
It just makes. I mean, I thought we'd get Master Chief before we would end up getting Sora. Like Sora was such a shocker to me.
Right.
So yeah, and then if I'm gonna go obviously with the Nintendo side, look, there's an infinite amount of Nintendo characters and IPs. There'll probably be something from a new IP we don't even know about yet from Nintendo. Might get in there.
Drag X Drive, wheelchair fighters.
Yeah. Well, look, we put Robin, so could be. We have Game & Watch in there for crying out loud. Come on, I mean, I can't exclude that. Yeah, they could toss an obscure thing like a Dragon Drive character in there. That would be kind of wild with the wheelchair going around and your moves are all shooting basketballs at people.
Yeah,
that'd be sick. But or like the final smash is like some half pipe crazy thing. That'd be, and then you're dunking them off the stage or something.
Perfect.
Anyways, no, I look, I'm a big Zelda guy, and ever since they made this guy playable in Hyrule Warriors, I'm like, I want him in Smash, and it's Tingle.
Yeah,
and I'm not even saying that as a joke. I love Tingle. It's one of my favorite characters. Maybe it's because I'm kind of like Tingle minus the green suit. I don't know. I'm also not stealing your rupees, so I guess it's fine.
Pretty good. Yeah,
he's jolly. He's happy. He's floating in a balloon, and he just wants to make his maps and charge you a lot of money for it.
I'll take him. What are mine? I think I'd probably on the Nintendo side. I'm a big Animal Crossing guy. I'm gonna go Tom Nook or KK Slider or something like that. Yeah. We got Isabelle. You'll want to hear this. Okay, non-Nintendo. I have somebody in mind. Now, would this happen? I think not. Do I want it to happen? Yes. Give me Mickey Mouse. Give me Mickey Mouse. That's great. I'll take him. I'll take Skylanders. I'll take whoever. Give me them.
Yeah. No, Smash characters is always one of the funnest things to speculate on because literally it could be anything that just isn't Sony exclusive. So.
So,
and who knows? Maybe what if that barrier gets broken?
Yeah, then anybody's in.
Because
Doesn't
as an
matter.
example, like we have a Lego game with Alloy on Switch.
Yeah.
What if she's suddenly in the game and you're like,
mend
oh,
the fences.
damn, like, you know, let's see if Sony truly thinks they're a competitor or not. If you allow your characters with licensing fees to be in Smash, because they tried to make their own Smash, it didn't go so well for them.
Yeah. And then after that, I'll take Sackboy on Smash. I'll take all those Sony
Sackboy
characters.
would be sick. Sackboy would be sick in Smash. He's like the perfect character to add in there.
Yeah, that would be great. Oh, we can only dream. But folks, that is it for the Mario Matter episode of 136. Thank you, Nate, so much for joining us. It was so much fun. We talked about Mario Kart, a lot of good stuff. If you want to, promote any of your work or your social medias or your YouTube, the floor is yours. Anything upcoming, let us know.
Yeah, look, you can just follow me. There's pretty much only two places that I'm super active on. There's X at Ninty Prime, and then there's the YouTube channel. That's what I do. I got my daily news videos over there and stuff. There's a lot of channels that do that. If you don't like my style, it's all right. But what I do find to be some of the most unique stuff we do is the podcast that we have every single Wednesday. I think it's the best piece of content we put out. We bring YouTubers from all over the place on. We have our co-hosts of everything. We're doing a bonus show the same day as this direct. We always go big when every direct happens, regardless if we like the direct or not. It doesn't matter. We got to talk about it. So that's probably like the big things that I do the most. I also do like daily live streams, but we hide them after the fact. So if you want to know what happens there, you just kind of got to show up.
Yep. Cool beans. I will leave everything linked down below. Thank you, Nate. I appreciate it. I will see you all next week for even more Nintendo goodness. I'll talk to you all then. Adios.
Bye, everyone.